Free will can be a perilous thing. Cerny shook his head sadly. As a crude example, many will graduate into the third density after learning what it is to be a pack animal. What I mean by this are animals that live in family groups. These animals tend to be the most intelligent, for they have learned that they have a better chance of survival by staying together. And by staying together, they learn from one another. Thus they discover their own self-identity. Like a pack of wolves, Stella suggested. Yes, Cerny nodded. Or a pride of lions. A troop of gorillas. Or a herd of elephants. Now for those that play the game under the veil, there is a problem that all must overcome. When these players graduate into third density, they see themselves as being separate. As being alone. The closest they come to unity, is identifying themselves with their family, or tribe. This is instinctual for them, because they are used to being part of a pack. Unfortunately, like pack animals, they will continue to defend their territory against other packs, or tribes. Seeing outsiders as the enemy, who threaten their food supply, and family. Now in a perfect game, the players would begin to see the similarities between their tribe and the other tribes. Eventually, the tribes, instead of fighting, would join together, helping each other to prosper. So it would continue, tribe joining tribe, until all had become one. And they would discover oneness and unity. And by so doing advance to the next density. The fourth density. Cerny paused. Sounds simple, does it not? Cerny sighed. But sadly, it seldom goes that way. For sentient creatures are far more intelligent than animals. Humanoids especially, who due to your opposable thumbs are very good at making tools. And weapons. When fighting with just teeth and claws. Animals would get hurt. But they were seldom killed. As killing served no purpose. But fighting with weapons, especially as the weapons became more dangerous, resulted in a growing number of deaths. The deaths of much loved relatives and friends. This led to growing fear, anger, hatred, and ever more deaths. Players who were killed in such brutal ways, or had experienced loved ones being murdered, who then returned to the game to play their next life, were easily tempted into perpetuating the same dreadful deeds upon others. Because the veil stopped them from seeing the truth. So more and more players ended up going around and around the wheel of karma. Of course, there were a few players who, due to their innate desire and wisdom, managed to penetrate the veil. Having connected back with the One, and with all there is. These few exceptional players, seeing the truth would then bring great peace and love. They became teachers, and healers. And many were drawn to them. Players whose orientation was service to others. Who were eager to learn. Others also penetrated the veil. Those whose distortion was towards the self. These players sought only the means to gain greater power for themselves. For when a player connects with the One, they will always have power over those who don't. These players of service to self were not interested in helping others. Instead, they wished only power for themselves. As they saw themselves as separate from all others. These players sought to destroy all those who were connected with the One, whose orientation was service to others. Seeing them as a threat. And always attempting to turn all their teachings, and workings in the game, to their own advantage. Many players in turn are drawn to these service self players. Some because their orientation is also service to self. While others, lost in fear, are easily manipulated into following. Both becoming willing servants. Who help the service to self, let us call them masters. Whose aim is to gain control over all other players. They sound horrid. Stella pulled a face. They cause much pain and suffering to the other players in order to maintain their own power and control. Cerny nodded. Can't they be kicked out of the game? Stella scowled. They are also learning, Stella. And what they do is as much a part of this game as the service to others. Cerny shook his head. Learning. What about the players who are suffering? Stella said indignantly. All are learning, Stella. It is darkness against light. The Chinese call it yin and yang. Without one you cannot have the other. Some call it duality. To learn one you must understand the other. Only then can you see the whole. And bring things into balance. Only then will you have learned. Cerny explained.